Hi and welcome. One of the most annoying things when dealing with vintage PCs is not having the right kind of input device for that machine. Keyboards are quite easy since all PCs since the era of the AT machines are PS2 compatible. Also, you can actually buy a new PS2 keyboard or mouse even today in 2023. So all you may need is a DIN5 to PS2 adapter for machines before the ADX standard. A mouse, however, is a bit more tricky. The PS2 mouse connector did not become available until the late 90s, about the same time that USB became available. So for the most part, a mouse had to be connected to the serial port. The problem is that you can't buy a new serial mouse anymore, and if you get a used one, it won't be an optical mouse, but instead it will be using the old system with the rubber ball. But as always, the retro computing community has come up with some amazing solutions to this problem. In this video, we're going to take a look into a few of these options. The first one is a hardware mod that allows you to add native PS2 mouse support to 386 or 486 motherboards. The idea is that most boards of that era use keyboard controllers that do actually support a PS2 mouse, but that feature is not actually being implemented on the board. There are several very interesting threads on Vogons about this topic, including mods for specific boards. So if you're interested, feel free to take a look, the link is in the description. Another option is to build a PS2 to serial adapter. Necroware has designed and built such an adapter based on an Arduino Mini, and he has made an excellent video about it. His project is open source, so you can build your own adapter. But you may no longer have a PS2 mouse. So what if you want to use a USB mouse instead? The easiest option is to use the USB mouse to serial project. For this to work, you need a Raspberry Pi and a USB to serial port adapter. The creator of this project has even uploaded a video on YouTube demonstrating how it works. This is an excellent solution that requires no soldering and no hardware tinkering. It is also compatible with practically any USB mouse, since the mouse talks to a full-blown Linux system. I have personally used it several times using my Linux system instead of a Raspberry Pi. One more option, and the main focus of this video, is to use CalamityLime's USB to 232 adapter. This is an awesome DIY solution based on the Raspberry Pi Pico, using the tiny USB library for interfacing to the USB mouse. The project is open source, and you can find detailed information on GitHub. The link is in the description. There are two variants of the PCB, the fat one, which is the most feature-rich, and the slim one, which is as compact as it gets. I ordered the slim one. Okay, I've got all the components I need, so let's build it. Ideally, you would use two 20-pin headers for this, but I only have one 40-pin header. So I will try to cut it right in the middle to avoid wasting the middle pin, because that would result in one 20-pin part and one 19-pin part. Well, it didn't go as planned, but I think we can still make it work. At this point I realized that I made a mistake. I should have soldered the SMD components before soldering the headers, because now there is less room, which makes soldering more tricky. And I just realized that I also made a second mistake. I think the board is designed to use 805 SMD components, but I didn't actually check, so I bought 1206 components instead. I will make them fit, but it won't look pretty. The board works with both MAX 232 and MAX 3232 ICs. We need to add two wires to connect the Raspberry Pi's USB to the USB-A connector on the board, otherwise we would have to connect the mouse to the Pico's micro USB connector using an adapter. So we connect the TP1 pad on the Pico with the TP1 pad on the board, same for TP2. To power the MAX 232 IC, you have to bridge one of the two pads with the center pad. Since I'm using a MAX 232, which is a 5V part, I need to bridge the center pad with the 5V pad. Okay, so it turns out the cheap MAX 232 clone chip I used was broken. It was getting very hot, so it was most probably short-circuited internally. Luckily I had quite a few of them, so after trying several of them, I found one that actually worked. Lesson learned. Next time I'll buy genuine Maxim ones. Flashing the firmware ROM to the Pico is quite easy. First we need to download the UF2 file from the project releases. Next we just need to connect the Pico to the PC with a micro USB cable while pressing the Pico's boot select button. It'll show up as a mass storage device, just like a USB thumb drive, so all we need to do is copy the firmware file to the device. Now let's plug it into the 486 machine. We need to provide power either with a micro USB cable or with a 2-pin power header. If you use a micro USB cable, please make sure that it is a power only cable or just connect it to a phone charger. Now let's plug in a USB mouse. As you can see, the red LED came on. Let's run the CuteMouse mouse driver for DOS, and let's run some games. And yeah, as you can see, it works great. Let's see what happens if we unplug and replug the mouse. The mouse lights up, and yeah, the red LED also lights up. And the mouse still works great. Let's try a different mouse. This one also works, but it moves a bit too fast. I think the mouse pointer speed can be configured. I will show you how to enter the configuration menus in a bit. Let's try one more. This one is not being detected. The funny thing is that this is probably one of the oldest ones, as it is a PS2 compatible USB mouse. Anyway, let's check out how we can change the configuration options. There are a couple of ways to do this, including from the DOS PC itself, but I'm going to use a USB to serial adapter to connect it to my Linux PC. I'm using Minicom, which is a serial communication program for Linux, but you can use any other such program. The important thing is to configure the serial port to use 1200 baud, 7 data bits, no parity, 2 stop bits, and no flow control. This configuration is commonly referred to as 1207N2. Now let's hit enter. As you can see, an awesome interactive menu shows up. I won't go into the details, but this thing is very configurable. Oh, and by the way, when you are in configuration mode, the green LED will start blinking. You can get back to mouse mode by either exiting the menu or by pressing the reset button on the adapter. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Many thanks to all the folks in the retro community who share all these great projects. And as always, thank you for watching and see you in a future video. Bye!